Sorry. We got the financial records of the state funds from actually instead of September, they gave us from August until November.
Since Abdul became mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, since Abdul became mayor. There's no dates on these, so I can't see like when what happened.
Huh?
Yeah, there's no dates on these records, so I'm just
Because of the. I assume that's because of the funky way you had to get the records, right? Not from the exporting.
Yeah, that is absolutely why.
It's a mess.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. To my knowledge, it's just whenever Abdul was in, and plus I only looked for Abdul's stuff, so I didn't.
What is that?
The local probably.
So, one thing I want to ask you guys about, that was pretty urgent in these, and I'm just gonna be open until Bundy tells me to shut up. Essentially, he bought a mayoral vehicle.
I can comment on that actually.
Yeah, sure. Did you have one whenever you were in office?
Okay, so the mayor, obviously handles finances, and something that when it comes to the vehicles, to my knowledge, because I had an incident with the DOJ that I cleared up, is essentially if you buy let's say I were to go buy a Lamborghini, okay, and I'm the mayor. Mm-hmm. If I were to use state funds for that Lamborghini, I can then pay the taxes off of it with state funds, but at the end of my term, it's the state's vehicle.
Got to be passed to the next mayor, or
yep, it's got to be passed to the next mayor. Or so, for example, another incident that I'll go into is, basically, long story short, when one of my first times in I think it was like my second or third day, there was a vehicle that was gifted to me because I was the mayor, and there was an incident where I spoke to a judge about it, and I corrected it because I wanted it to be my vehicle and not the state's vehicle. So I actually paid the state account the money that I took out of it. And I
paid for it.
Yeah. So.
But these are things that needed to happen with the approval of a judge.
Yes, like for example, what I was going to get
judge,
into.
The Supreme Judge or any judge?
Any judge I worked with.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna. So basically, in my term, and I'm Andy, I think had a similar issue. Is there weren't many judges around at all, because like even nowadays, Crane's the only one I really see, and this was. I basically...
Yeah, my second term I was lacking.
Yeah, I had maybe Bailey most days, and that's it. And so, for example, I don't know if you guys remember, but during my election, there was a lot of violence. I ran it by Bailey, the idea of buying a DOJ safe house. And so I believe I took $250,000 or $300,000 of state money and bought a house up north that you guys actually raided. And me and Bailey had keys to that property because me and him used it to lay low because Bailey was also in danger a lot. And at the end of my term, and he gave me permission to pay off all the asset fees with it because, it's a state-owned property. He gave me permission to pay it all off with the state account. At the end of my term, I then sold that property and put all the money back into the state account.
Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense for a couple of these then, because one of these essentially he bought an Enos Stafford for
$650,000.
650.
Jesus Christ, man!
Did he get approval from a judge? Because
we don't know. We don't know.
It doesn't say judge approval. It just says the reason he put for it.
Yeah, we're reading the comment section right now as far as what the transaction is being. What he's also doing that I've noticed is he's withdrawing the money and giving it to people. He's not actually.
Oh my God!
He's not wiring the money to people.
Yeah,
you can just give them the account number. Why isn't?
Well, so like for the Enos, for example, he withdrew the money and gave it. I don't know who owns these account numbers, but the account number that's on this Enos transaction is the same one as multiple others. So I'm assuming it's his account, or like he's withdrawing it to himself, essentially.
Yeah, he's doing a transfer rather than a payment on it, essentially.
So you would have to see his personal records to see if he actually
which
used all that money towards
which we're working on that as well, so I'm not too worried about that.
I will say something that makes me question, like I genuinely do not believe. Okay, when I was in office, I don't know if you know Superior Financial Loans. Are you guys aware of that?
Yeah, ran by Nino Chavez back in the day.
Yes, he is a partner in it. Now I've known Nino very well. No, not Abdul. Nino. Yes, okay. Charlie, I believe, is the owner.
McNamara or something along those lines.
Now, Nino came to me because they don't have the state account to help them with their loans.
Right.
And he came to me while I was in office, and he wanted a $1 million grant for the company that they paid to the state interest on. So the state would end up making money off of it. And we had a contract written up, but I wanted to run it by the judges. The judges said $1 million is a lot of money to just spend like that, even though we're going to make money back, so I would deny it. So I denied it.
Well,
so something tells me, so I just wanted to say that $650,000 for a mayoral car, I feel like a judge wouldn't approve.
Over the top.
Well,
over the top.
Well, it's
not
funny
only
that
that
you mentioned that, because the figure $1 million, the very next transaction out of the state records from Abdul was $264,000 more dollars in order to replace the engine parts of the Stafford that he had just purchased.
Yeah, it says and I quote reimbursement for G&E. So it's like,
oh my god!
Oh, you don't have dates, do you?
No, they're
he said reimbursement for G&E.
What the fuck?
1,320 G&E.
Out here paying grinders?
These
Yeah,
are
at least he's
literally
transparent
back-to-back,
about that kind of shit. I'll give him credit, right?
Yeah. These are like
Oh
within,
my
assuming
God.
minutes to hours of each other. They're same date, everything that I can tell. One of the
He upgraded it with the state.
You're telling me he bought a new car and then immediately tried to replace the engine parts.
Yeah, looks
Basically,
like it.
to upgrade it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that happened. So I'm not. That's not an immediate worry or concern right now. It is like almost $1 million in total going towards a vehicle, but at the same time, we kind of.
914.
What?
Yeah.
The total is 914.
Oh yeah,
$914,000.
Holy shit.
So
Yeah.
it's not an immediate concern because at the end of the day, we either have to wait till he gets sent out of office or he leaves office to deal with that part because again, mayor vehicle.
So
Yeah, I was gonna
What the
say if you look at the articles of impeachment, you might be able to make a case of gross incompetence / negligence just due to the fact that he's literally going out of his way to deny you guys $50,000 a week.
Here's
I think
the
we have
Oh,
more than that.
there is.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it like this:
Oh,
there is
can I-
plenty more that you could, obviously, but just throwing another idea out there.
If he didn't get approval from a judge, that's straight up corruption because he did
So-
something with state funds for personal gain.
Yeah, we need to find out
Let
part.
me-
We don't know
let me-
right now.
Let me put it like this: there's one that I know for a fact. I could once I get the physical evidence on, I could get him for embezzlement more than likely. Which I want to ask you guys about that charge specifically. There is $1.3 million going to the casino for a room in the hotel
I don't know.
What do you
for the
mean?
mayor.
Oh my God! Wait till you
From
hear this.
where?
Your jaw's about to drop. Just
The,
wait
the
to hear
state
this.
funds.
What?
He is mayor housing.
Let me read it out. Hang on.
You said 1.3 million?
yeah, 1.3 million for the rental of a hotel room for 9 weeks, including miscellaneous fees like $45,000
Oh, no.
for Wi-Fi, $90,000
no.
for full mini bar
Oh,
access.
no.
Abdul's living like a king. That's all I'm gonna say.
Don't
So
those,
let me read
aren't
this
those
out.
included with a hotel room?
Let
What
me-
fucking
let me leave-
hotel room costs $1.3 million?
It
Let
costs
me-
$5K to get Wi-Fi.
Yeah, let me read this out like per week, right? So it's $144,900 per week. It is
no.
$50K for the room charge. It is for penthouse
no.
access $25,000. Hotel concierge is $10,000. Hotel car service is $5,000. Mega mall is $5,000. Concierge is $5,000. Private entrance access is $5,000. Unlimited mini bar access is $10,000. VIP
I've
clothing
got
and VIP
penthouse
casino floor
access.
access is $5,000. High roller room is $5,000. Wi-Fi access is $5,000. And unlimited pay-per-view access is $10,000
For
I
how
got,
many nights?
for 9 weeks.
9 weeks, up through the end of his term.
Yeah, so he pulled money out in advance and paid in advance. He paid 1.3 million in advance to cover 9 weeks.
What
Yeah.
is this hotel room supposed to be for?
I
Housing.
don't know.
Housing.
For
Housing.
So he's trying to.
Mayoral
Okay, so
housing.
mayoral
He
housing.
claims he lives there.
Correct.
Okay,
That's
so
not-
let's just see. So he's spending $1.3 million on housing, $650,000 on a vehicle, and then almost $300,000 on parts for the vehicle.
He has spent more than I would say the budget that was allocated to the entirety of the police departments, he has spent more than that on himself.
I just want to make
So-
a point that you could probably he spent more on himself than probably me and Andy combined has given the unified police department in 3 times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
right now,
To ourselves.
without doing any math, he's looking at about spending 4 to 6 million on himself alone.
On top of however obscene amount he's paying himself currently. on top of that.
I don't know how much he's paying himself, to be honest.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really want to get in the weeds on that one too much because I mean, there's obvious things wrong with spending 140 grand a week on a motel room. Yeah, we don't really need an expert opinion on that.
Yeah, it's
more of what we're looking at are some of these smaller transactions that we have on record.
Yeah, so it's let me see. Let me find one.
I do feel like Abdul is not that stupid. I don't think he'd be that loud.
Oh no,
everything.
he's definitely that stupid.
You think so?
Absolutely.
It's too obvious.
He signs the checks that he sends us from the supreme leader. You think that he's not loud?
I'm actually surprised. I'll be honest.
So I believe Andy, you're the only one out of you two to do 2 terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and Denzel. Did you give yourself an end of term bonus?
Nope.
Or did you do that for any of you or your deputy mayors?
Denzel gave me a severance check afterwards. I never gave myself anything.
Yes,
okay.
I gave Andy a severance check because I believed that she deserved it for multiple reasons, including cutting her own pay to help other parts of the government out.
Yeah,
I definitely selfless for sure.
I refuse to give myself a
like
severance check or anything because I personally believe it should be up to the mayor that comes after you whether they want to cut you a severance check or not.
Okay,
And honestly, the severance check he gave me was based on the amount of money I would have made if stuff that was, implemented later had been in effect during my terms. So like the ability to give out licenses and the kickbacks he made from that.
Yeah.
So we calculated that out.
What was the approximate?
Between 2 terms, I gave Andy, I think, for the 2 terms she served in building the office, I gave her $250,000, I believe.
Did you get a severance package?
I didn't get
like 8 weeks, right? No, more than 8 weeks.
We went through. No, it was 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months.
Damn, okay. 4 months.
It was 4 months of work
weeks.
where she cut her own pay and she built the office, so I gave her $250,000 from the state account.
Calculated from every single business proposal that I had approved and could have given licenses out for because there were no judges for the longest time. So that's where the number ended up coming from.
All right.
And
then,
then
did you get a severance package?
I inquired about getting a severance package for my time as the mayor, and I have not gotten a single thing back and been dodged every single time. I'm pretty much told we've got to review that anytime I've asked about it, so I know it's not going to happen because I know that Abdul does not like me. It comes down to as simple as that.
Bundy, that's going to take out one of the severance package transaction on here. Then we got to see if it's the 4th deputy mayor that's not there anymore. That got that left or something.
Yeah, people don't usually pay themselves severance packages.
So he
I don't think you should be able to sit there in good faith and pay yourself out for a severance package or an end of term bonus because at that point that's just you can't do that in good faith.
Entirely biased with state funds, period.
Yeah, it looks like he gave himself a pretty wealthy bonus, end of term bonus, as well as his deputy mayors. So.
Yeah, because you get paid. You get paid for every time you're clocked in doing mayor work. You already get paid for that. And like I said, I gave her a severance package because she was the first mayor and put a lot of time and effort into it. So I was never
anything in that office or anything with state funds if it is going to benefit you personally in any way, shape, or form.
And I always ran my stuff by DOJ. Anything I had that I was kind of confused about, I'd run by DOJ.
I wonder who you talked to, but for me, looking at the whole entire sheet and the transactions, there's definitely grounds for impeachment, but I don't think we should stop at that. I think we need to go with criminal charges.
Yeah,
I feel like impeachment is just not enough for Abdul. What he did yesterday, he definitely should end up with him going to jail at least, or some sort of criminal charge being pressed on the docket.
Did you what's that, Denzel?
I was gonna say, the amount of shit that he's pulled in general. Does anybody have food? I was supposed to get food on my way here.
Yeah, I got you.
I mean, not just him, his deputies as well.
So I've got a question because we've got a couple of other miscellaneous charges that are on here.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Did either of your administrations have any relationship or pre-existing arrangement with LSBN or any other news agencies?
God no. They dragged me through the mud at every turn, no matter what I did.
What about the state announcement system? How does that get routed exactly?
Okay, so the mayors were not capable of doing state announcements in either of my terms. I was able to work with a construction company to help, modernize their system to allow them to do it. So that's on Denzel and the deputy.
So I made state announcements because I can make state announcements. Basically, any mayor after me can make state announcements. So myself and Abdul were able to make state announcements.
His deputies can too.
Yep, same deputies.
So you guys can make your own state announcements. You don't need any outside people.
You don't need a judge. Nope.
Like Andy, like she said, Andy couldn't in her term, but as soon as I became the mayor, I think within my first week, I was able to make state announcements.
Okay. Yeah, because it tilted me that I never could.
And Andy, you being the one who assisted with kind of getting the construction rolling on that, is that routed through the news agencies in any way, or is it just through the state infrastructure?
No, that's federal government.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just its own entity.
So when it comes to, this is gonna be take a lengthier one. What was the mayor's office in charge of hiring civilians for the courthouse?
Like city hall work, basically.
Partially. Yeah. So you're talking like county clerks?
Well, I have one. 1 second, where'd it go?
I'll put it this way: mayors can hire whoever they want as their deputy mayor, so long as they're within the guidelines that are provided. So, like, basically, no.
I more of have
felony.
one that says butler services for city hall.
Who?
I was gonna say.
You can contract people out, like if you want. Like I've paid people for like cleaning the mayor's office and stuff like that before.
Yeah.
But
Did you typically withdraw money from the state to buy like, I don't know, a metal detector?
No.
Why are you asking
Why would I do that?
I mean, if you're going on like a
It's on
mail
here.
or fishing,
you're bullshitting me.
I'm not even kidding.
He did
It's
not
on here.
see state
It
funds
says
for a fucking metal
spent
detector.
$10,000 on NPX 1000.
What the?
What?
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
I mean, these are all to be public record anyway, so I don't really give a shit telling you.
Duty.
Yeah, these. I mean, anybody can employ this shit.
Oh my god. What mayoral duty did he have that involved?
I don't know, but I would like you guys to keep this between us because I don't want you talking to somebody else and then it might make it to Abdul's campaign as far as like things like that, these transactions, and he starts to cover his tracks. So I really appreciate if this stays between us until we're ready to make it more public because we are gonna.
Well, and we're gonna move on this quickly as well. We've got 3 subpoenas that we want to file just because we want to attach names to some of the things that are going on here. And we want to get our hands on other records before we go public with it. But when it goes public, it's going to go extremely public, extremely quickly. We're not trying to we're not trying to play hide the fucking carrot on this one.
You know, he's absolutely fucked. He can probably definitely get criminal charges because he's supposed to ask for permission for any and every single one of those transactions from the state account that are for himself. So, even if it's in the capacity of doing mayoral duties, he has to ask for permission.
Well,
and he would probably have known that if he asked for any fucking training. Are
you, in y'all's experience, does the mayor's office fund like events at businesses and stuff like that?
If it's through Parks and Rec, yeah.
What is Parks and Rec? Can you explain that?
Yeah, can you go into that for me?
Okay. I created Parks and Rec because I wanted there to be a fun department of City Hall and not have it just be a burning, suffering shithole. So I made Parks and Rec with the intention that, because I was getting a lot of complaints that the farmers markets weren't as active as they used to be, so I just made a department that's intention was to basically just hold events for the state for people to come have fun.
Do you typically drop $500,000 on that department?
What? No, I think I put half of maybe.
I think you put less than that.
I put a large chunk in there that was supposed to last them for like a long time. We'll put it that way. So it was supposed to last them like several months and not have to ask for a re-up way later down the line. But I only did it once.
I just want to.
I don't know if Denzel ever re-upped it.
So yeah, I want to attest to that. She put a large sum of money. I want to say less than $500,000. At the time, the head of Parks and Recs was Nancy, and she was paying out of pocket for some stuff before that. So I did give her a salary. I think it was like $17,000 a week.
Yeah, but here's the other thing with that is that the entire design of Parks and Rec is that you give them that startup money so that they never have to ask for money again. Because ideally, a lot of these events they can also charge for, and that money can go right back into Parks and Rec to help fund future events. Obviously, not every single event would have to be, chargeable. They can just put on one for fun, right? But the concept was that they would be able to support themselves off of that one payment.
So one thing that I'm noticing is that there might be like 2 like co-heads or whatever, but it says that there's a bi-weekly charge or a charge for salary, right? Or bi-weekly transaction for salary, and then there's always one immediately after it. So they're charging twice.
Well, it looks like it's either he increased the pay for this individual, like if it's a singular individual, it looks like they're getting paid $25,000 per week to head up the department, and Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Denzel was mayor, that was you, right? You were the head of Parks and Rec. At
No,
the time?
Nope.
Andy. I said it was. I just said it. It was Nancy. Nancy.
Oh,
Drew.
it was Nancy.
Mhm.
I
Nancy
was
Drew,
never
okay,
the
okay.
head of Parks
Yeah.
and Rec, except for, well, the mayor's office is always head, but no, I did
Gotcha.
not take up that position. After I
Yeah,
left.
it was Nancy Drew in my term was the head of Parks and Recs, and into my term, like I want to say a month into my term, she came to me about having a salary, and a lot of the people that worked with her at Parks and Recs weren't around, so it was falling on her alone, and so I gave her the money. Yeah, she asked for
didn't
a
even know that.
tiny amount, too.
Because she was supposed to be paying herself through the account. That's so weird.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that we're probably going to need to subpoena that Parks and Rec account in order to fix. Because we've got not only this $50,000 every 2 weeks that appears to be going into it, but also like irregular sums like 210,000 that's being transferred into an account for quote unquote funding for that department.
Did he transfer these to like people, like individuals?
Well, that's the thing. We don't know yet.
Yeah, we got no
Okay.
way of knowing until we
'Cause there
subpoena
is
the
a-
account holder.
Yeah, there is a Parks and Rec account, which Abdul has access to. So he should just be transferring directly to the account.
Yeah. So luckily, I don't think any of the nothing looks suspicious between the deputy mayors, except for like one thing.
Well, maybe not financially, but they've pulled some dumb shit that's also impeachable.
I'm more than sure. But I'm more of thinking like from these records, it mostly seems like it's an Abdul thing than anybody else.
You know what's funny? People were saying the LSPD was sucking the mayor's dick. We were getting 80 grand while the BCSO was getting 200K.
What the fuck? Man, I'm telling you, I paid you guys better.
I
had
paid you
less
guys
money.
better.
Well, what bugs me is I asked for $100 increase in pay because we can't do shit, and they're complaining about it.
Yeah, I was
And
working on
then
that. I was
there's all
talking to
this.
Abdul about increasing the pay across the board. I think it would be more beneficial for officers in the budget, in my opinion.
I mean, to me, it's just interesting to look at these transactions and like, yeah, we've got somewhere right around, what would that be, 2.2 million just between that vehicle and this hotel room purchase.
Yep, something like that.
And that cumulatively is more than all of the departments have been given since Abdul took over the budget.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, I think it's, I think the reason I worded it like this, Bundy, is like, he's on himself. He is spending 2.2. What did you say? 2.2. $2.2 million approximately on
That's just
himself.
Rough estimate.
That's just a
And
casino in the
just
car.
to put that into perspective, I think between both of Andy's terms and my terms, we gave the Unified Police Department less than that. Between 2 mayors and 3 terms. So in 6 months, less money was given to the Unified Police Department than this mayor has given himself in less than 2 months.
And
Right.
there's no way that any judge approved that. And not to mention, even if he was approved to have, mayoral housing or a mayoral vehicle, why the fuck would anybody approve it being millions of dollars when you could go get a fucking house for what? Like a fucking fraction of that.
Yeah, that was my big thing is the property I bought was $200,000 and I thought that was too much. And I ran it by a judge and the judge was like, you shouldn't. The judge pretty much said don't do anything too much, like too expensive, but like, if you think it's worth it, then do it. And I found a place that was up in Sandy that I could lie low in case there's violence, and Bailey and I shared that place.
I have to do this call, sorry.
Did you happen to talk to a judge yesterday about the process?
Yeah, you guys are gonna run into problems with that. So, the process
of filing, I assume it's just something we.
The process
file
of
on the docket.
impeachment. Yeah, the general advice I was given was just to file it, and then you'll find out, because Allison Thomas is claiming that this is now a senator decision of whether to impeach them, but that is not what was told to me months ago when I was the mayor, because I think Labar told me that basically you would submit it and then you would have like a hearing or trial or whatever, present your cases, and then the judges would vote on whether to
Well, I
keep
don't
them or
know.
not.
Well, I don't know, like if the Senate, because I've seen the senators come into the city and like do things, and I've seen them like do things on the docket. So I don't know like if they would actually come in city or do it on the docket or not. But to my knowledge, she was basically saying that, like to my face, she told me that because she knows about the FOIA request and she accepted and all that kind of stuff, she's now conflicted.
Well, then she could just step out of
weird.
voting.
Yeah. So and then it was up to the it'd be up to like senators to do the final vote and stuff like that.
Like,
And
I
was
hope
like,
it's up to judges, because
I could, I could see the senators swinging in a decent direction on it. I mean, they're
Oh yeah, it's not about their
they're
decision, just more
interesting,
so
but-
more so, you know, handling stuff
Mhm.
with what you got in front of you is more so
Yeah.
where I'm at.
I mean, the two that I
That's
met
always
were crotchety
Instinct.
assholes, but they like towards the end they genuinely seemed to give a shit at the very least. So
Mm-hmm.
one of them only had letters for a name, so I don't know about that guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they basically advised just throw it up on the docket and see what happens.
Yeah, well, we're gonna kind of do everything at one time, so that way there's not really a chance for anybody to do anything with the records or hide anything or anything, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. So we're
Yeah,
gonna give it a
mean-
couple days and like wait a bit because we have a few things we need to look into. But it'll, like, as soon as it happens, it's gonna, like, it's kind of all gonna be hit at once. So there's no room to miss anything.
Yeah, it should be decently easy. I mean, but the other problem that you're gonna also run into, is that as current legislation still stands, even though this was told verbally to me by judges, but apparently was never actually changed. If Abdul is voted out, one of his deputies becomes mayor.
Yeah, it's written in the Constitution Amendment area.
Well, the
Yeah.
plan right now is I don't think I have any. I don't know. There's a
Most
couple
of them
things
are
with Ellis
completely
being-
incompetent.
Yeah, I think Sherry Pie is the only one that would be like, I don't know about competent because I haven't talked to her that much, but she'd be the only one that would be like
Sherry has
possible
common
to.
sense.
Yeah. In terms of like Abdul, I think we have enough to get him out. Yellow, we definitely don't have enough to give him out. And Ursula, there's something that like does not look right.
Ursula, I've
I
got
have
an
plenty on
independent-
Ursula.
Yeah, I've got an independent investigation. If push
Okay.
comes to shove on that, don't worry about it.
Okay,
Ursula,
so we
I'll
have
tell you
enough to
right
get them all
now,
out then.
Ursula, Odessa have both tried to enforce legislation that just straight up didn't exist, which in itself is impeachable. We checked in on it. They changed it on the spot because they were panicking because I called them out on it, and didn't announce these changes to the public in any way, shape, or form. So that in and of its own is also reason to kick them out of office.
I don't think Ursula would make it to be the mayor.
Hell no. Ursula's the mayor? Please no.
Man,
Honestly, the one that I would see stepping up to take responsibility on this one would probably be Yellow. Honestly, he's the numbers guy. He works a lot of Abdul stuff behind the scenes. He's the
He's
one
his
who's been
right-hand man.
handling
but
the
he doesn't
charges.
know anything.
I doubt it. It seems pretty close.
I feel like he knows more than the other two.
I have never
Three.
seen somebody so incompetent. You weren't at that town hall.
Oh
were
yeah,
you?
they don't know fully about that.
I think he was the scapegoat. I think he knows, but
he
he's
literally
not
admitted-
he admitted in front of me, Andy, and the entirety of the former BCSO High Command and the rest of the people that he did not read his own expectations of office.
On top of that, when asked why they don't post any changes when they make stuff to legislation, like when they make changes, why they don't just state an announcement, he said, "You guys have phones, don't you?"
Oh,
Implying that we should
Yep.
get all of our information from Twitter, and that that's a perfectly acceptable, channel to push these changes through, and that should count as informing the public.
And
I mean,
he
works
also
in a building
refused
with the goddamn
to.
judges.
he
can
also
push an announcement
refused-
through them.
Yeah, he also refused
but he can
to.
state announce.
He also refused to give any information about the state account, the number in the state account, not because he doesn't want to or because he wants to check with his butt, because he can't, is what he originally claimed. So.
He is a train wreck.
Yep.
And I feel for him because that office is difficult to be in, especially when people are so awful to you. But that one was bad because I even tried to reach out a hand and help, and he kept shooting himself in the foot.
Well, and I guess the biggest problem with him is I think that he relies very heavily on the strong personality that is Abdul. But Ursula is pure PR through and through. I mean, she was a goddamn reporter that. turned
Oh,
into
yeah,
a
no,
deputy
she-
mayor.
She's
I literally
top
called her out.
number one of not answering questions.
Yeah, I literally said to her at town hall, "I don't give a fuck what you have to say. You're just dodging questions constantly."
And then, Sherry's she's just the wild card, right? Like, I don't know what meaningful contribution she would have.
Honestly, anything I've ever had to bring to any deputy mayor, and Sherry was the only one around. Sherry was the one with the most common sense. who didn't try to like bullshit for the office. She's just like, yeah, that shouldn't be happening. She seems to actually be the only one who gives a shit about people's best interests. Because I'm like, your office is trying to push legislation that doesn't exist. And she goes, okay, I'll tell them to fuck off. Or we'll make the legislation and then we'll revisit it then. And I'm like, that should exactly be your answer. But yet the one that I never get from anyone else in that office.
Hey there, how you doing?
I don't know. But if you have problems with ones that are grossly incompetent, you're going to have to get rid of 3 out of 4 of the deputies.
So I may have missed this part, or we may have gone over it very quickly. But insofar as like civilian workers at the courthouse is concerned, lawn maintenance, I don't know, cleaning services, things along those lines. You know, a couple thousand here and there. Did you guys run that by the DOJ, or did you just not have any services like that?
I'm gonna be real. You can go.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll be real. I don't like it. I remember I couldn't get a hold of them, but I did want to get somebody to like tidy up City Hall and stuff like that. And I was just gonna pay them $5,000 out of the state or mayor account. But you know, they just.
I don't know if they even know about the mayor account.
Yeah, they probably don't. But
what is the mayor's account?
So there's this thing that was the mayor's account, which is separate from the state account. I personally didn't want to take because. You know, keep in mind, we were like -7 million when I started my terms. So I held an event at the end of my first term, I think, and put all the money into the mayor's account. The mayor's account was supposed to exist for transactions like that. If you're going to get your office cleaned, mayor account. You're going to have them, you know, trimming shit in front of the building, mayor account. And that's basically funds that you are able to use to help the city or your office or the building or whatever, not yourself, that you wouldn't really have to get approved by a judge because it has a much smaller amount in it. And less damaging to the state.
So it's essentially like a
and it's money that you raise.
Yes.
Kind of. Okay. It's supposed to be still within your mayoral capacity.
Yeah, so it's a personal account for the mayor duties.
The idea is that you would raise that money and it wouldn't be you spending taxpayer money on stuff.
And
so when I had my office cleaned after somebody left like a fucking chopped up torso in it, I paid the person out of the mayor's account.
Yeah. And like I mean, but in all honesty, like, especially the state account being so positive, like, towards the end of my term, if I wanted to get, like, the city hall cleaned up fully or, like, you know, ship mode, I don't really see a big issue with $5,000 for somebody to do that type of work, to be honest.
But even then, he should have, at the beginning of his term, asked for his own budget for stuff like that and spend it, you know, accordingly. There's still more responsibility that could have gone into that, but if you're paying somebody to mow the lawn, I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, now, if it's frequently and seemingly unnecessarily, then that's a different story.
It honestly seems like, from what I'm seeing throughout these, is that he just kind of uses the money whenever he wants because he thinks that since he has access, it means it's his money to deal with, kind of thing. So,
yeah, that's a problem.
I'm gonna...
2.2 million that could have gone to the police department.
Yeah, I mean, that state vehicle... if he keeps that out of office, you guys need to seize that shit.
If you can prove that he's spent more money on himself than he has on any, you know, institution that money is supposed to be there to support, you'll have him out, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I'm sure you could actually. What would be your rough estimate? Would you say that Abdul gave you guys for budgeting wise between all of the police departments?
I can speak on the LSPD. 200K
total.
So total
in his term. How much do you think?
Like, Jesus.
What other like things is he giving money towards the police department for?
Burglary task force got 20, 30,000. SCU
got 300K somehow. I'm not sure how they did it.
Yeah, HVTU got 300,000. SCU, I think cumulatively we're sitting somewhere north of 750. I think close to 800,000 after the last budget payout.
So still less than he spent on himself by a lot.
Yeah. Well, and SCU and HVTU. The reason that we got paid so much was for physical purchases, unmarked vehicles and explorers and things like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say because. What, Andy, you gave LSPD 250K, you gave BCSO 150K, you gave the SASP 100K, right?
Once
Yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
paid them several times over because I insisted on having meetings to make sure it was going where it needed to. But during my office, they were also getting their CVPIs and shit. So there was a lot of like, we're gonna slow roll this because I don't want to break the account.
Yeah.
But now it's in such.
Well, I know,
but
I'm just asking. Like, that's correct though. Those numbers are correct.
I don't. It's been so long.
Well, those are
I know
the
I
numbers
paid
I went
several
off
times
of.
over.
Yeah, those are the numbers I went off of, and then what, Bass? I re-upped you guys, what, 200K? I think.
I believe
top
there
of
was
that.
120.
120.
I know I
re-upped.
gave them more when I left office because I didn't know who was going to come after me.
Yeah, so I re-upped the LSPD 120K. I gave the Rangers a pretty decent amount of money because they actually gave me a quote for what they would use everything for, and they were getting separated from the SASP account completely. So I gave them amount, and then the BCSO didn't do shit, didn't come to me with anything, so I didn't give them a single dollar, and nobody from the troopers ever really talked to me, so they didn't get any money either.
I think it's hilarious. It's hilarious to me that the EMS is getting the same fucking budget that the LSPD is for.
They're getting more. They're getting 82,000.
What?
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, because EMS, they've got all those expenses for.
And they say
I will
suck
not
Abdul's dick.
look. I'm
Well,
not
I
gonna
have the least
lie.
amount of
I
money.
gave.
No, I'm not gonna hate on EMS.
Yeah, I
stuff
gave.
They do gotta pay for.
I gave
but-
the EMS, I gave the DOC, and I believe I gave the doctors all $50,000, and I got them all basically cheap medical supplies that they could pay. That way, they save some money too. So.
Yeah, no, I
That
mean,
took
like
a
what they
pay
100%
cut for DOC.
Yeah, they 100% deserve a budget. I mean, all of those. I mean, they've got vehicle repairs, they've got miscellaneous expenses.
But I agree that they should not be making a very large margin more than the police department.
Yeah.
Especially when they have an incredible less amount of people to be funding.
I mean, there's.
They also get paid
EMS
more than
on
you
duty
guys, and
currently.
I know that for a fact. Unless Abdul raised your guys' pay incredibly.
Yeah, definitely.
Last I heard, we make like, I think they said like right at 700 or something like that. And to my knowledge, EMS makes more than that.
Yeah, EMS.
Yeah, they
make
absolutely
They
More than
make like 850 or something.
Yep.
So it's like, listen, I love EMS to death, but last time I checked, they weren't getting shot down every 20 minutes and getting robbed. So now we have to spend our entire fucking paycheck on gas and new gear.
It's bad.
So something like for instance, if there were a event that was to be funded, like a fashion show or like a Halloween costume contest, that would be expected to be routed through Parks and Rec, right? Like that's the entire purpose of them having that budget.
No, because Parks and Rec is designed to hold those events in and of themselves. Like they are the ones creating
Gotcha.
those events.
Okay.
But any business can go to the mayor's office and say, "Hey, will you allocate me some money so I can hold this event? I either pay you back or it'll be a grant." But obviously that needs to happen only if the event is absolutely going to happen and if you can prove that the event happened. So
Right.
I was never going to ever give, which I never did, but if I had ever given money to an event, I would have gone there and made sure I had photo evidence that this event actually happened in case something went wrong or the state account started getting questioned. So you can do it. You just should be smart enough to be able to prove that the event happened afterward the fact.
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Was there a costume contest this year?
I don't know. I was just using that as like a random example.
Oh. Yeah, you can do that.
I think Halloween was a little too crazy of a time for us all to know whether there was a costume contest. I personally was contending with a serial killer that was attacking the Bondi boys around that time.
Interesting. Well, anything else we can help with?
No, you've answered most of my questions for the most part.
Yeah, I think
Like I
I'm
said,
good.
there is definitely grounds for impeachment if you look at this just for your requests. I'm looking through these mayor's records or state account. However, I want it to be more deeper than that. I want to go and actually find the dirt of the dirt, and hit him where it hurts. Because like if we just impeach him, yeah, he'll walk away with the money, right? I want to get that money back and throw his ass in jail, and then impeach him at the same time.
Yeah. Please do.
Absolutely, we'll work on it.
I'll,
Really appreciate your input, though.
Need to
Thank you.
stop these advances he makes on me.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. Other day I was looking at the MDW minding my own business and Abdul's trying to give me gifts. And will not stop when I refuse his advances.
I mean, I'll just put a bullet in his
bullshit.
head.
No.
Oh, actually,
Yep.
I want to ask you: so looking at the penal code, right? Embezzlement says that it has to be a business. Is the mayor's office a business? Is this
I think it's
Sound like one.
Yeah, that's gonna be one of those like spirit of the laws versus like.
Yeah, because I
wording
feel like if you
sort
get a
of
Murphy
things.
Braun who's gonna fucking pick apart this penal code bullshit and it's not a
Yeah, I don't. I mean, if you
Braun's
get
an idiot.
yeah, Murphy Braun's gonna pick that shit apart no matter what. My main concern would be what judge. I mean, if you end up with like coyotes at Nana, for instance, like coyotes can be like, well, the law technically says.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope
because
it's not one judge for this whole thing. Maybe it's like round of judges. Yeah. Yeah, panel. Because if you go by the letter of the law, technically embezzlement wouldn't apply to him because it applies to a business. What is the mayor's office? It's a government entity, right? So.
I mean, yeah,
I mean,
but
it
the
functions as a business, yes.
those laws are also from like a. I don't know, like the mayor's office is a lot newer than that law, right? So. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would feel like embezzlement would be the most applicable thing because you're embezzling from a public office. Like the action you're doing is still the same. It's just the entity's different, right?
Right. Yeah, like I said, I just want to get it right and not have an egg on our face when we go to court and he walks away from this whole thing. That's all it is.
I mean, I could see something like that happen. So, like, for instance, like the coyote example, I could very easily see coyote saying not guilty on criminal charges, but you're still impeached because this is fucked up.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I can definitely see that outcome definitely happening where he basically gets impeached, but no criminal charge will be applied to him.
I mean, does that mean you guys can embezzle from your own shit and not get impeached for it?
I don't know.
Not impeached,
I don't
but
know.
fired?
That's why we got to build a strong case, and I think the biggest thing is getting that money, is a civil forfeiture of that money and getting that money back where he took it. Because if we don't get that money back, then regardless of what happens, if he gets impeached, he's still gonna be sitting on a pile of cash at the end of the day, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't get criminally charged for embezzlement, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to funnel as much money as he possibly can out of there before he gets drop kicked out.
Oh yeah, well, and there will be absolutely there will be this weird gap period, right, where he gets found not guilty, but they're gonna fix the law. And during the hours or days where that takes, well, you know, you got somebody who's got access to that account, so.
I mean, I'll go down there and talk to a judge and ask him to add things that make sense into the wording just so this doesn't happen.
Even if you do add stuff into the wording now, he wouldn't get charged with it if they decide to go by the letter of the law because ex post facto, this is stuff he committed before they changed the law. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So the main thing I think we should go for is because one of the main articles that I'm looking into that would help us would be he was convicted of something that could harm the state or the office, which embezzlement. So if we're gonna charge him with embezzlement, or at least try to, we should just try for that and the impeachment at the same time to kind of push our way through, and then be like, yo, he hasn't been convicted, but we're literally in the middle of charging him for this, along with these other articles of impeachment kind of deal, to help further our case. So. It's also a proof of like we're not screwing around. We're kind of done with this bullshit. We've been doing circles with them, and essentially the mayor's office fucked around and found out. So, no, not my
Indeed
problem.
they
at this
did.
point.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I
Yeah.
feel like all my questions were answered. What about you guys?
Yep, same.
All right. Well,
Alright.
you know where to find us. if you
Yep.
ever know.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it a lot. Thank you for
Oh, no worries.
making
Fuck
free
them.
time for this and answering questions because you definitely provided clarity in the whole thing.
No problem. I just want them to stop trying to enforce legislation they